Hello, everybody, and welcome. I have something really fun. This is called The Bully. This is a Mr. Ballin story. It started sounding really familiar to me, so I just wanted to watch it with you. Let me know if you've heard this story before. I feel like I heard this story like when I was a kid, and it seemed like it wasn't real. Let me know if you heard this before. Here we go.
In 1949, 15-year-old problem child Ken Rex McElroy dropped out of school and moved to a tiny farming town called Skidmore, Missouri. There, he began his life of crime, which consisted primarily of theft. At night, he would drive his truck
Wow.
onto Skidmore residents' property, and he would steal their livestock, alcohol, grain, food, antiques, anything he could get his hands on and that he could sell, he would take. And if the owners ever caught him in the act, he would just raise his rifle at them and tell them to go back inside and never report it to the police or he would kill them. And because Rex was this big 270-pound monster of a man who was known for having a bad temper and for being really aggressive, people generally just did what he asked and his crimes went totally unreported.
This is kind of where it started sounding familiar to me, just his name and like this whole small town thing, and he's a bully. Just watch what happens. This is a pretty amazing story.
In the rare instances that victims would report Rex's crimes to police, Rex would begin intimidating them and their family by staking out their houses at all hours of the night, or he would just walk directly up to these victims and he would say, "I will kill you if you testify against me." And if none of those tactics worked, Rex used some of his illegal money to hire one of the very best defense lawyers in the entire state, a lawyer who had famously represented the mob, and he would step in and get Rex off of virtually any charge.
Oh,
including
right.
the time
I forgot about
Rex
this part.
actually did shoot one of the owners who caught him in the act. Over the years, Rex would use these fear and intimidation tactics not just to make money, but also to prey on young women and girls. In the 1970s,
Oh,
when
no.
Rex was in his 40s, he began stalking a local Skidmore girl who was 12 years old named Trina. After assaulting her dozens of times, Rex learned
What?
her family was going to be pressing charges against him. So
Oh my
Rex
gosh.
burned down Trina's family's house and killed the family dog, and then
What?
threatened to kill the entire family unless they signed paperwork that would legally marry their daughter Trina to Rex.
I didn't know any of that. I just heard he was this bully and he was just intimidating people and stuff like that. That's the story I heard. I did not know any of the background. I did not know that he killed a dog and burned someone's house down. I didn't know it went that extreme. So this is all new information to me. Wow.
This would protect him legally in case they pressed any charges against him. After the family finally relented and signed off on the marriage,
What?
Trina was forced to come live with Rex at his house,
Oh
and
my
within
gosh.
2 years she became pregnant. After the birth of her
Listen, I would kill a motherfucker. I would kill a motherfucker. There's no way you would escape me. I don't care, man. Even if you're bigger and stronger than me, I would find a way. There's no way I would allow that to happen. But in a small town, man, I mean, who knows, dude? It's small town stuff is weird. I don't know if you live in the United States and you know a little bit about small town justice and small town ways. I do not. I've lived in Phoenix pretty much my whole life, so I've just heard about it.
child, she took her baby and tried to run away from Rex, and she ran back to her family's new house, and she was hiding there, but Rex tracked her down. He took her and their baby back, and then Rex proceeded to burn her family's house down again, and again killed their
What?
new family dog. By the
Oh
end
my
of the
gosh.
1970s, Rex wasn't
Wow.
only just the most hated person in Skidmore, he was the most destructive person. He had hurt so many people in town, but it seemed like no one could do anything about it. It was like
Right.
he was untouchable. Then a single piece of candy changed everything.
Especially
In
with that
1980,
lawyer.
one of Rex's children was at a local grocery store in Skidmore when they were caught stealing a piece of candy. When the shopkeeper asked the child to put the candy back, they refused, and it caused this huge fight. And before long, Rex has found out about this huge fight, and Rex, instead of being upset with his child for stealing, he becomes enraged that the shopkeeper had the audacity to
Right.
accuse his child of a crime. And so Rex began stalking the owner of the store, a 70-year-old man named Bo, along with
no.
the rest of Bo's family. At all hours of the night, Rex would just show up in front of their house with a gun slung across his lap, and he
What an asshole, right? Oh my gosh. Let me know if you knew any bullies growing up. Honestly, like what a dickhead. I've ran into plenty of bullies growing up, especially in the 80s.
Fire shots into the air, and then during the day, he would walk right up to Bo and he would tell him, "I'm going to kill you." And so Bo and his
Jeez.
family knew it was only a matter of time before Rex did become violent, and they were right. In July of that year, Rex showed up at Bo's grocery store with a shotgun in hand, and Bo, who was
Oh
in the back of
no.
the shop loading groceries through the back door, he turns around and he sees Rex walking up to him. They have this heated confrontation where at some point Rex just raises a shotgun and he fires a shot into Bo's neck. Bo was gravely wounded, but he would survive, and Rex would actually get arrested and would be charged with attempted murder.
Wow.
And it seemed like, for once, maybe Rex was actually going to get what was coming to him, but he didn't. The attempted murder charge was lowered to just assault, and he was given 2 years in prison. But he would only serve 1 day in jail before being released on bond.
How?
And as soon as he was
How?
out on bond, he went right to his house and he got his rifle that had a bayonet attached at the end of it. And he went right to the tavern in the middle of Skidmore, and he began telling anybody who would listen that he planned to finish the job, i.e., he was going to kill Bo. And he described in very graphic detail how he planned to do it, which involved
gosh,
this rifle
man.
and this bayonet. Patrons that were at the tavern that saw Rex and heard these claims, they were scared for Bo, and so they left the tavern and they told city leaders about these threats. And so city leaders at this point, they've had enough of Rex, and they decide they're going to host this secret meeting that will not include Rex the following morning. So the next morning comes around, and all these angry residents, they come to this meeting and they begin discussing, how are we going to handle Rex? We can't use police. We can't use politicians. Nothing can be done. So what are we going to do? How are we going to put an end to his reign of terror?
Oh man, this just reminds me of just like back in the day, like in the West, where freaking the town got together and said, "We got to get rid of your ass, man." Holy shit, this is scary, dude.
After a while, they came up with a plan. And after the meeting was done, everybody left the town hall, they got their guns, and they made their way over to the tavern where
Ease.
Rex was seen earlier that morning.
Ease.
About 40 of these armed men surrounded the outside of this tavern, and once they were all in place, another smaller group of men that were all armed walked inside the tavern, and they saw Rex sitting at the bar with Trina sitting right next to him. And so these men, they walk up right behind Rex, uncomfortably close, right behind him.
Uh-oh.
And they just stand there with their guns looking at him. And at some point, Rex turns around and sees them, and he's about to lash out and start fighting them, but he realizes he's totally outnumbered, and these men that are standing all around him, they look like they mean business. And so he stands up, he grabs Trina, and he brushes past
They're
them.
serious
trying to
this
act
time.
tough, and he walks out of the tavern. When he gets outside, he's taken aback at this additional group of armed men, which is much larger, who are all standing there just looking in at him. And so
How scared would you be, honestly? I know this is a big tough guy, but the whole town is on your ass right now, dude. Seriously.
Rex at this point becomes visibly
Wow.
frightened, but he grabs Trina and he calmly walks out to his truck, which is parked a little ways out in front of the tavern. He gets in the driver's side, she hops in the passenger side, and Rex lights a cigarette up. He turns on his truck and he's about to try to drive away when a gunshot rings out, and Rex immediately
Yeah.
slumps forward onto his wheel. One of the Skidmore residents
remember this.
runs up to the truck, they open up the passenger side, and they grab Trina, who was unhurt, pulled her out, and rushed her to safety. Once she was clear, the other residents with their guns just moved in on the truck, and for 20 seconds they opened fire on Rex.
Oh
When
shit.
it was over, nobody called an ambulance. Everyone just stood there and watched as the town bully died.
I heard that just a shot went out and then none of the townspeople admitted to who it was or whatever. I didn't know they all opened up on his ass. That's crazy.
In all, there were 46 witnesses that were there when Rex was murdered, but they all said they had either not seen the shooting or they didn't know who the shooter was. And despite a lengthy federal investigation, none of the witnesses ever changed their stories. And so as a result, no one was ever charged
Wow.
with Rex's murder. Years later, a Skidmore resident, when asked what happened here, they just said that man needed a killing.
Listen, wow. So that's the story.
All right, so listen up. State Farm
let me get out
was
of
trying
this.
to charge me $197.
It's just kind of like one of those things where, like, if 50 people said they saw someone murder somebody, you almost have to believe them, arrest them, and put them away. But if 50 people said they saw a UFO, they're all crazy, right? But in this particular instance, there were no other witnesses around. Everybody agreed that, X, Y, and Z is going to happen, and what can you really do about it? Do you arrest the whole freaking town? You know what I mean? Wow, that it's just an amazing story, and it's amazing that it happened fairly recently. So let me know what you think. I just thought it was just an incredible story, and I know I heard it somewhere before, but I just don't remember in what context. So just let me know what you think. I appreciate your time. Have a good day.